The opposition Citizens Coalition for Change, the CCC leader Nelson Chamisa, has mocked the ZANU-PF-led government for failing to roll out a contingent blueprint to deal with the power outages while outlining a 5-point plan to alleviate electricity crisis defiling the country. Chamisa said Zimbabwe's economy needed to be driven by clean and sustainable energy resources that will achieve net zero by 2050, following pronouncements by the Zambezi River Authority that the country had used its share allocation of water. Zimbabwe was plunged into darkness, with most locations going for 19 hours without electricity. In a series of tweets on Thursday, the CCC leader said Zimbabwe needs to pursue sustainable energy for all and to mobilize action from all sectors of society in support of 3 interlinked objectives to be achieved by the year 2027. Part of Chamisa's sustainable energy plan include providing universal access to modern energy services, doubling the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency, and doubling the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix in Zimbabwe. According to Chamisa, some of the plans to boost the energy sector will be to expand generation by modernizing our existing power plants through life extension technologies that are smart and green by 2027. To build an energy efficiency revolution that creates an energy surplus by encouraging demand-side management, energy efficiency, and optimal use of our water resources in our hydropower generation systems, dispatch and operations, to provide enough project financing and investment for power generation, transmission, distribution and supply systems, with an emphasis on rural development and urbanization, as well as install ethical, competent and professional human capital to run our utilities. To source through the private sector the sum of $300 million that is required to modernize our grid, said Nelson Chamisa. Zimbabwe's transmission infrastructure is archaic, according to the CCC leader, and part of the solutions will include allowing participation of private players in the form of independent power producers, IPPs. We will implement sustainable energy development based on scientific and engineering studies that will continuously launch projects for solar power, energy internet, carbon capture, utilization and storage, CCUS, nuclear energy storage, hydrogen and total electrification of our country, added Nelson Chamisa. Decades of lack of investment in energy infrastructure, visionary leadership, planning and corruption has resulted in the country failing to meet its daily power consumption. Zimbabwe currently has a national electrification rate of 42%, while electricity has reached 83% of the urban households. Rural electrification is still around 13% as per last updated national energy policy of 2012. The nation's estimated electricity demand is 2.3 megawatts against actual generation of below 1.1 megawatts. The country has an installed capacity of about 2,300 megawatts, with Zimbabwe's power company, the ZPC, a generation subsidiary of ZESA, owning around 95% of this. More than 50% of electricity is generated from hydropower, while the remainder is from thermal power plants. Biogas, mini hydropower, and small-sized grid-connected solar systems have an installed capacity of paltry figure of less than 150 megawatts. Against this background, the actual power generation capacity in 2022 averaged below 1,100 megawatts against a peak demand of around 1,800 megawatts. We will promote sustainable feed-in tariffs for small hydropower, biomass and geothermal projects, as well as corruption-free competitive bidding for solar photovoltaics, PV and concentrating solar power, CSP, wind and other renewable energy sources, said Nelson Chamisa. He also added that off-grid energy will be promoted and incentivized to make them a viable option for citizens' government 100% electrification of Zimbabwe by the year 2035.